have you, then I'll say something about you, and then you'll get started. Just, that's how it's going to happen. Okay, it's streaming now live. I'm just waiting for the message to come through to my phone so I can send it out to TKG Disciples and to TKG Sangha. Here, it's coming through now. Okay, the messages have gone out, so I'll get started. Welcome, everybody, to today's program. Vanchakalpa Trubhascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhya Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshtarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktabinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So welcome everybody. Today is the first of this year's Zoom programs that we're doing. And I'm going to introduce our honored speaker, a very honorable speaker, revered speaker, and then we'll ask him to speak. So we're introducing His Grace Kalasamvara Prabhu, from New Zealand, amazing renowned devotee, very advanced devotee, a very senior devotee of Srila Prabhupada, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So His Grace Kalasamvara Prabhu was born in a little farming area just outside of Christchurch, New Zealand, called Leeston. He first saw the devotees on a TV interview when they were in New Zealand in 1972, when Srila Prabhupada installed Sri Sri Radhagiridhari, the presiding deities of New Varshana. He came in contact with the devotees in 1973 and was formally initiated into the Vaishnava order by ISKCON's founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, in July 1976 at Gribblehurst Road. He was involved with book distribution and deity worship right from the beginning. It wasn't until later on in life that he became involved with management. He was the temple president of Wellington for a couple of years, then Christchurch for 12 years. He has been in management at New Varshana for the last 30 years. Currently, he is the temple president at New Varshana, regional secretary for New Zealand, and GBC deputy, helping the GBC with secretarial work. Kalasamvara Prabhu is a Harinam man. He loves going out on Harinam. He hasn't missed a Friday Harinama in the last 50 years. The three things that he preaches the most and asks the devotees not to give up is feeding people, chanting the holy name, and distributing books. Keep these as a foundation and add what you want to on top of that. But that doesn't lose sight of the basics that our whole movement was established on. Kalasamvara Prabhu, thank you so very much. Welcome. It's so nice to see you again after so many years. And Hare Krishna, please enlighten us.
Prabhu, I think he's muted.
He's muted, Prabhu.
How's that? Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Good.
That's
Now
right.
we can hear your wonderful voice. Yes, thank you.
Krishna. So Yeah, some of my fond remembrances are Fiji, going on Harinam with Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Prashadam distribution and book distribution. I push those things because I've been in the movement over 50 years now, and it's kept me enlivened. It's kept me grounded. So I find it a nice instruction to give to other people. So I love speaking about Tamal. I love hearing about Tamal because, and I hope you don't mind me calling him Tamal.
No, not at all.
Your disciples and so on. So because I only remember exciting times with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. When Tamal Krishna Maharaj was coming to our temple, it would take 3 months to prepare. It would take 6 months to get over. Because when Tamal came through, it was like a storm. Relishable, nectarian. And he did something to his disciples, which I haven't seen anywhere else. He planted the seed within his disciples' heart to stay dedicated. There's exceptions to the rule, but generally when I meet Tamal Krishna Maharaj's disciples, they're very dedicated and very successful. I mean, I was in Dallas maybe 20 plus years ago, and I was in Houston just after they opened the Gurunga Hall. And even back then, you could see the success. If you take a look at the places, Hong Kong, I consider successful. China, I consider really successful. Dallas, successful. Houston, successful. Fiji, successful. And wherever I travel around the society and meet devotees that are disciples of Tamal, they're all damn good cooks. It's like here in Auckland, we have Tilakini and Mother Ashray, who's something like 84 now. She comes to the temple 4 times a week. She brings the boga. She cooks for the deity. She offers the boga. She basically puts the deities to sleep, and then she doesn't leave the kitchen until everyone's had prasad. She's 84. So, and it doesn't matter where I travel in the world, I always miss prasadam here in New Zealand, which is cooked by Tamal Krishna Maharaj's disciples. So,
you're muted again.
He's muted again.
You unmute. There you go.
it's mystical. So I only see success, but like Tamal would challenge us, even challenge me and challenge his disciples, I have one burning thing which is annoying me. And that is, listen to this and see if I'm right or not. Fiji. Srila Prabhupada went to Fiji, was 50 years ago, because we're going there in September and we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada in Fiji. What did Prabhupada say about Fiji? Prabhupada says, Kalia resides in Fiji. Now, for years, I've been telling all the devotees he doesn't. He resides in New Zealand, because in New Zealand, there's no poisonous snakes, there's poisonous humans, there's no poisonous spiders, and there's nothing poison. So when Srila Prabhupada was asked about Fiji, if is this poisonous snake, someone says no, but I've seen with my own eyes. I think it's about the 4th deadliest snake in the world. It's the blue and white striped sea snake. But apart from that, Prabhupada said, Kalia resides in Fiji. Now, the most amazing thing about Kalia is he's the only demon that Krishna didn't kill, isn't it? So if you read the Krishna book, you go to Vrindavan, you go to all the places where Krishna killed the particular demons, but he didn't kill Kalia. Now this is the burning thing. Kalia lives in Fiji, and it's about 25 minutes from Raki, maybe a couple of hours or an hour something from Lautoka. You go to the village. If you've seen on my Facebook page just a few months ago, we went to the village, And in that village, they also worship an 8-headed snake.
Yes.
And they've been worshiping that snake for over 3,000 to 4,000 years. And so we showed them a picture of Kalia and says, oh, we think it's this. We think it's Kalia. You worship him like that. So anyhow, the chief, he gave us permission to go to the lake, the Kalia lakes and the Kalia caves. So we'd only heard horror from the Fijian devotees, from the disciples of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. If you go there and touch the water, it's poisonous. And by touching it, you'll completely be dissolved in the poison. And then if you go in the cave, then it's just like in Vrindavan. If you go where Rasa Leela comes out, you go crazy or you disappear. So this is what's going through our minds. Me and a few other devotees, oh no, what's going to happen? Will we touch it? Will we go? Maybe we shouldn't. We thought, it's Kalia. It's Kalia, the devotee. He's become a devotee now because Krishna danced on his head. So we says, yeah, we're not going to see Kalia the demon. We're going to see Kalia the devotee. So then we traversed up the creeks, through the mango groves. There's all the mango groves. And we came to the lakes, and they say all the snakes around that particular area, that's where they come and drink. That's their hangout place. They all come together, maybe shoot the breeze. How's it going? What's up? And so on and so forth. So then immediately on getting there, we took bath because it's a beautiful Fijian day. The kund, or the lake's about over 5 meters, so you can't touch the bottom. And we went in the caves. And then I was thinking, you don't go crazy by going to these caves. You go into ecstasy because this is where Kali resides. You don't burn to ashes in the water and the kunds and the lakes because this is Charanamrita. And it shows you the rocks where the rocks are like beautifully shaped and that they're like snake skin, like the snakes slide down the hill. Right. So this is my challenge. This is my desire to make Gurudev even more famous. That why doesn't one of you disciples establish it as a holy place? It's a holy place because the very person Krishna danced on his head resides there. So that's my challenge to all the Tamal Krishna Maharaj disciples. Write a book, do a movie, but somehow or other establish the glories of Fiji, and establishing the glories of Fiji automatically will establish Gurudev as more powerful and more strong and more charismatic and more dynamic, that actually he didn't give up Fiji. So when I met Srila Gurudev, it was just after Srila Prabhupada left his body. I think they were starting the Acharya system and they were all traveling to different places. So Tamal, he was given the responsibility of Fiji, Australasia. So when he was in Fiji, you've heard the story before, some of you, I was serving Tamal because there was hardly any devotees in the temple. A big temple in Auckland in those days was about 15 devotees. And if you got 20 people for a Sunday feast, it was like packed. So in Gribblehurst Road, where Prabhupada used to stay upstairs, we also had the sannyas room where Tamal used to stay. So as we were going upstairs, he wanted me to shave him up. So what happened was one of his aspiring disciples was coming from the top kitchen down to the bottom kitchen with a big pot of hot dal. And it was so hot that he went to put it on the ledge of the stairs. And as he did that, the dal slipped off the ledge, went right down the wall, and me and Tamal were just about to step up the steps, and the dal went right over Tamal. This is hot dal. And then Tamal just stood there. He just stood there, and I stood behind them, and I go, well, what do you do in this situation, Carla? I mean, you've never been trained up to handle something like this, and especially with Tamal, and, you know, and we didn't know Tamal by nature and what his mood was and how he responded to everything. And he just turned around to me and he went, how bad is it? And I went, It's not so bad, Maharaj. There's a little redness, but it's not as bad as what I would thought. We don't have to rush you to the hospital. And then he says, let's go upstairs. And he looked into the mirror and he goes, yeah, that's not so bad. Yeah, you can shave me up, because I was about to shave him up. So this was like the second day that Tamal had arrived. He'd never been in New Zealand. He'd never been in Auckland. This was his first experience of becoming the so-called, in those days, the acharya of the zone. And the next place he went to was Sydney. I think it was Sydney Temple, and it was a Sunday feast or a lecture. And then someone jumped on the altar and grabbed the small deities, brass deities, and they were heading towards the big deities to smash them in the van and took them to the police station. So Tamal gets back to Mayapur and catches up with Bhavananda, and he goes,
Is he muted again,
I don't
Nityananda
think that-
Prabhu?
Who's muted? No, we can hear him.
no, I'm all right.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
So he gets back and he meets to Bhavananda. He
Hare
goes,
Krishna, is he muted, Prabhu Nityananda?
No, he's not muted. Can you hear us, Mother Nandini? You might be muted.
it's not muted on my end.
Oh,
You're not muted at all.
So then he says to Bhavananda, I don't think Australasia is good for me, but I want to keep Fiji. And we're so lucky, because who could have done what Tamal did with Fiji? It's such a successful yatra. 4 wonderful temples, so many wonderful devotees. Once again, the prasadam, the book distribution, the Harinams are going on, college village, preaching, and so on and so forth. Another thing I did when I was in Fiji, I stayed in the villages with the local people. And that, not the Indian people, the local Fijian people. I lived in their house, we ate their food, and I learnt their culture and they learnt ours. And that I remember being with Tamal, and he wanted us to preach to the village people. That was also one of his desires. And I also found that it's easier for Westerners to preach to the Indian village people, because they have this whole rasa, or this whole leela. They feel like Western people have been sent by Jesus Christ. So there's a lot of respect there. So that's what
Nityananda
I'd like
Prabhu,
to
I
see.
can't hear him. Is he muted?
No, I'm not muted.
Not muted, but for some reason, it's your computer. It has something in its own system that's not playing the sound. But we can all hear him. Everybody else can hear him. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
can't hear him.
Kalasamvara.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So my desire is that we have to establish. I was talking to also Radha Charan about this a few weeks ago, that actually, if this is a fact, which it must be, because everything else Prabhupada talked about was a fact. So if Kalia is there, just meditate on it. Kalia is there. He's actually still alive. He's a devotee. So what's the difference between Fiji and Vrindavan? Because they're pastimes. Of course, we understand Vrindavan's Vrindavan, but I'd like one of the disciples to really get into this and find out, study it. There's also where Kalia goes through the caves. Most of you Fijian devotees know about this, and he comes out in a bay, and if you go there at low tide, the bays are different coloured water, and even the local fishermen for hundreds of years, they don't cross that bay. They understand that's
Hare
where Kalia
Krishna,
comes
is
from.
Prabhu muted? I can't hear him. This is Nandini. I can't hear him.
No, I'm not muted.
Hare Krishna, Nandini Mataji. So the other option is, you can use the link, YouTube link, to watch live.
Yes. She can hear us, but for some reason she can't hear
Can't
Kalasamvara.
hear me.
Yeah, I can't understand why that's happening. Anyway,
Yeah. That's the mystical potency of
yeah,
technology,
of Kalia also.
of Kalia. So that's what I would like to see done. That I don't think it should be left. it shouldn't be lost. It shouldn't become like a folklore, or maybe it was. And then when I was talking to the village people, because they take you on tour, they say next time you come, you go deeper up into the mountain. And up there he says, there's a village. It's called the Village of the Snakes. And that's where they live. Right. So I'm really intrigued to go there when we go there in September.
Hare Krishna.
So that's
I can't hear
challenge.
him. Is he muted, Nityananda Prabhu?
He is not.
This is Nandini.
Nandini,
What happened?
can you hear me?
Nandini, can you hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Nandini, go on YouTube.
Nandini.
I don't know if she can hear us. She can't hear you. I'm wondering if she can hear us also. Anyway.
I can hear her.
Of course, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so that's what I'd like to see personally, just to actually add the cream to the nectar of Tamal Krishna Maharaj's legacy. So that's I think about this all the time, and now going back to Fiji for the 50th anniversary, it'd be really nice if someone got on board and did something about it. Not for our whole society, because it's the only leela deity we have in the world, as far as I know, and Latoka, where we worship Kali Krishna. So there is some fact behind the whole story, and it is coming from Srila Prabhupada. So that's my challenge. Tamal used to challenge us, so that's my challenge. So many wonderful things. I mean, when I was in Christchurch at the temple president, the little subtle things like he would come into my office and just sit on the lounge there, and we would talk, and then he would go, if we're going to talk, Carla, you can't sit behind the desk. and I go, why not? He says, because by you sitting behind the desk, you're establishing yourself as in a higher authority, because that's the power of a temple president. Prabhupada gave so much power to the temple president. So he would make me, but he'd ask me, come around and sit on the same level so we can have a one-to-one conversation. And the pinnacle of Tamal is, and I'll tell you the story, but it was in Christchurch also. He asked one devotee there, the Yasoda, to make him some porridge for breakfast. And Tamal, it needed to be the porridge that he likes. So he said he likes it firm. He likes the porridge firm. So Yasoda says, no probs at all. It'll be there 7:30 or 8 o'clock when you want to have your porridge or your breakfast. So anyhow, in the morning, the Pujari didn't turn up, so he had to dress the deity. So he had to get someone else to make the porridge. So he explained to that particular devotee, Maharaj likes hard, solid. And she went, yeah, no props. I've been making porridge my whole life. So she makes the porridge and she takes it up to Tamal, and it's liquid. You know how you make porridge and it's liquid first, then it turns, and then he screams out, and in Christchurch, he's upstairs and he screams out, Yasoda, who made this porridge? And Yasoda's in the deity room. He just finishes up and he runs upstairs and he goes, what's the matter, Maharaj? What's the matter? He goes, look at this porridge. And Yasoda looks and he goes, yes, nice and firm. Because by time he yelled out, by time Yasoda got upstairs, porridge does what it does. It goes firm. Then he goes, oh, very nice. So, and I found this all the time. I mean, every time you sat down with Tamal, it was like a mini drama. It was like a mini play. Someone would bring some sabji and some puris which weren't hard, or some chapatis which weren't, what are these? He would go, what are these? And I'd look at them and go, well, that's a puri and that's sabji. He goes, no, they're cold. Sabji has to be warm. And he'd call the cook out, and the cook would be shaking. But anyhow, those cooks are still here and they're still successful. Another amazing thing was, we were driving from Latoka to what's the capital? Suva. Remember you had the tin was just a tin shed. So we're driving along in the car. Jagannath was driving, myself and another couple of devotees. And then all of a sudden we're talking about car accidents. Oh, there's a lot of accidents in Fiji. And he goes, why? He goes, because people hit these lampposts. And he turns to me and he says, Carla, I want you to find out who put these lampposts here immediately. And I'm thinking, are you for real? He says, because we have to get them moved, so someone has to do it. So these are the sort of conversations and the sort of humor and the jovial experiences we would have with Tamal all the time. It's so funny. And he just loved prasadam, didn't he? He was a real devotee. I don't think in those days there was any home programs. It was all temple programs. Guru Puja, Guru Dev would be there, would always play the gong, isn't it? Then he'd give an ecstatic class. And the quality of his classes were incredible. Even today, if you listen to his classes, they're so advanced beyond their time and space that they're just incredible. And then we'd have prasadam together, and what he was like. He'd have all his godbrothers sit down, and he wouldn't eat until they had the prasad on their plate, and some of his senior disciples were sitting there. So it was all like this creative leela, which added excitement. So it wasn't like now I can just sit down and eat and nothing would happen. When you ate with Tamal, something would always happen. It doesn't matter how well you tried to plan it and work it out. So you miss these things because I find personally you don't get that these days when leaders come through and senior devotees come through. You don't get that intimate, because he was trained up by Prabhupada and because it wasn't always some of the dealings with Srila Prabhupada. So that he would imbibe that through himself into us, and it just made him super attractive. It's like super attractive, just unbelievable. And that famous class he gave in Fiji, was it demigods or something about the demigods, and that fabulous lecture. And then so many wonderful leelas with Prabhupada, how he had the Dhammatar. What a rascal when you come to think of it. Him and Vishnu Jain going temple to temple, stealing all the brahmacharis, telling them they shouldn't stay in the temple. I mean, you try and do that today. You couldn't do that today. Only Tamal could do that. Get them aside. Come to my room later on. I want to, find out who you are. Okay, there's a spare seat on the bus. We're leaving at 7 a.m. And then just imagine that all the TPs. You can imagine how angry the TPs must have been, because if that had happened like in New Zealand, where some sannyasi came through with a bus party and then in the morning you woke up and all your brahmacharis were gone. So then they complained to Prabhupada, as we all know. Well, wonderful stuff. I mean, who else had these leelas and these different dealings with Srila Prabhupada? And then he says, maybe I should go to China. And look how successful China is. Yeah. And it's funny, I was with him in Hong Kong at a preaching program once, and someone donated for the night, or lent a Mercedes for the night. And the program was on the other side of the road, so there was the temple where we were staying, and then there was like a road, and it was actually on the other road. And I says, where is this program? He goes, hop in the car and we'll drive there. So we drove right up the street through the one-way system, all the way at the back, stopped nowhere. We were just over there. I know, but wasn't it exciting riding? You couldn't just walk there, isn't it? You had, the car was provided. You had to go in the car. You had to do the whole car leela, but it was just actually over the road. And Tamal introduced, which is popular these days, the yoga. Isn't it? When I first went to Hong Kong, they had the yoga room. They would do yoga and attract people to the temple like that. And now it's a very popular thing. So this is all to his glory. Other things, what else was I thinking of? I should have taken some notes, but Ganga Kirtan festivals. Govardhan, there's another success. He got that, it was the palace then, and he acquired the palace, and now it's a beautiful place for, I think it's mainly brahmacharis and sannyasis can go down there and stay there for Karatik, and devotees here, 24 hours a day and chant. Govardhan's right there. So I remember when he first got the palace and I arrived in Vrindavan, and I hadn't even gone to my room, and Tamal saw me, and he Carla, come here. I've still got my bags. No, put your bags in the hallway here. Come here, it's breakfast time. And of course, that was always nice. And he would go have breakfast, and he'd go, what are you doing now? And I was going, well, I was going to go and unpack in my room. He says, no, you're coming with me. I go, where are we going? He says, we're going to Govardhan. I want to show you the palace and what we're doing there. And I had nothing, just had my dhoti, my kurta, my bead bag and my japa beads. And he says, let's go. And he said, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can get a bus back to Vrindavan. So I was thinking, this nice, some more quality time with Tamal. And we went upstairs to the top veranda, and we sat there. And then 4 o'clock came by, and I went, oh, I've got to go now. And he goes, well, you can't go. And I'm going, well, how am I going to get back? And he says, you're not, you can just stay here. I said, look, I don't have a toothbrush. I don't have any co-pins. I don't have any gum shit. He said, just borrow someone else's. And I went, and he knew how suchi it was. And I went, that's disgusting. There's no way I'm going to do that. He says, don't worry about it. I'll arrange you a mat and a gumpture and whatever. You'll survive. But we have to sit here now. And I says, why? He says, because the sun's coming down over Govardhan. And when the sun comes down over Govardhan, Govardhan begins to glitter. It's like it changes from a grey to so many beautiful, you must have seen it, so many beautiful colours. And it happens when it rains, and it happens when the sun is setting and the moon is rising. And he says, that's why you can't go. We have to sit here and watch the glories of Govardhan. And this way, by chanting and singing, this is exactly what the king used to do. This is his sitting place. So that, apart from doing Braj Mandala, everything that I'm attracted to in Vrindavan is mainly because of Tamal. He took me places, he showed me places, he introduced to me places, he did crazy things like that. It's sort of like being kidnapped. Like when Krishna kidnapped Rukmini, it's like, Tamal would kidnap you and there's nothing you could do. You couldn't say no, and you didn't want to say no. So then again in Mayapur, when Tamal had come back after a long time, he hadn't been to Mayapur, he hadn't been to the meetings for about 7 years. And we would sit in his room, and my wife was a really good cook. She would cook sweets at night. So then in his room was the beginning of the Kirtan Melas. As far as I know, prior to that time, there was no Kirtan Mela. And it was just started by, we were sitting in his room, and then about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they'd put some mats out on the floor, and we'd sit on the mats. And I think the first kirtan, there must have been about 5 or 6 of us, and we all had a turn of chanting. And then the next night, Tamal invited, I think it was near Ranjana Swami. Then he came along, and of course, when he came along, his followers came along. So it went to about 7 to about 30. And then the next night he invited, could have been Radhanath Maharaj, BB or someone like that. And of course, they brought their people along. And it got to the point where you couldn't fit in the room, where you thought you couldn't fit in the room. But in India, when you're sitting on a train and you're sitting on the seat and there's a little gap like this, there's a little gap. And the lady, the mother, or the auntie, they see the gap. And if you look at them, you're finished. As soon as you look at them, they look at the gap, they're coming. So, and within a short period of time, you're on the floor, literally on the floor, because the mother comes, the son comes, the uncle comes, the cousins come, and the whole seat's gone just by them seeing the gap. So this room, Tamal's room, became so packed. I would look around, I'd go, there's no way you could get into this room. And more people would get in. It was like mystical. It's like Vrindavan mystics. So this was Mayapur mystics. And so from that, it got too big. And I think on the 5th day, they decided to go down and do the kirtan. I don't know if it was called kirtan meal. It was just basically kirtan. And then they did the kirtan in front of the Panchatattva. And then it became an ongoing thing to it as today, where is it in Houston or Dallas? You just have one with Indraduna Maharaj and the Kirtan group. Was that Dallas or Houston?
Dallas.
Yeah, so you see it's expanded and expanded and expanded. But before Tamal, that didn't exist. And another thing, and when I was speaking to some of my godbrothers, says, yeah, with Tamal is always a lesson. He's always introducing things. And the second thing he did was at about 12 o'clock, we'd all bathe in the Ganga. And he'd go, we need to introduce this again, because when we first went to Mayapur, basically we would spend at least, 6, 7, 8 hours on the bank of the Ganga. That's where everyone went. Everyone would go to the morning program, basically take prasad, and the whole yatra would go to the Ganga. And in those days, there was like little cliffs, which were about like 2 meters high. And we would throw each other off and we'd slide down and we'd wrestle in the mud. And then the sannyasis, they would read, have a little kirtan and read. So that was the whole Mayapur meeting. Then at night we'd come together and hear class and do kirtan. So that particular mood had sort of like been lost. So he wanted also to introduce that. Because when you come to think of it, we're all looking for nectar, aren't we? Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we should drink the nectar of the holy name. What's more nectarian than the Ganga? I mean, if you want mercy, and you know how we line up for Charanamrita in the morning, and especially if you go to the Dham, you run for the Charanamrita because it's so nectarian. The Ganga is just a whole river of Charanamrita. It comes from the toe of Lord Vishnu. If Vishnu appeared and you poured some water on his toe, wouldn't you want to drink that Charanamrita? So not only that Ganga is coming down through the on celestial airplanes, and it lands on the head of Lord Shiva. I mean, how ecstatic is that? So the Ganga has been touched by the toe of Vishnu, lands on the head of Shiva, greatest devotee, no better devotee than Lord Shiva, then comes down through Navadvip, through Mayapur. So, and if you read the Ganga book, just by saying the word Ganga, you're relieved of tens of thousands of impious activities just by saying the name. Never mind if you bathe in the Ganga or drink some of the water from the Ganga. So when Tamal had been away from Mayapur for a period of time, I think it was about 6, 7 years, he says, we have to establish this again. We all used to do this in the beginning. Maybe not spend all day, but at least before lunchtime, we can come down, bathe, associate, sangha, and then also it builds up the appetite and we can eat more prasada. So, different things like that. So this is how I remember Tamal. And a lot of devotees, they go, after Maharaj's operations and after going into the uni, and so he became more softer, but I never noticed that because he was always soft with me. He never ever said anything which would mental me out being a Kiwi. He never did anything which would disturb me. But everything he did, I hold on to like a precious gem. Every time I go to Vrindavan, every time I go to Govardhan, even living here on New Varshan, he said, this is New Varshan. Now you should live like everyone does at New Varshan. Of course, we're not doing that because it's winter at the moment and we'd die. But if the temperature was there, we could live that simple life. So, all of my attractions to most things mainly came through association with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So, to me, super devotee, super nice, super friendly, super intelligent, really smart. Even when he wanted to establish, he was given to establish book distribution in America. So at that particular time, Brigupati was the TP of Auckland, here in New Varshan. So he told me, he says, I've been given that responsibility again now to re-establish book distribution in America. But the best book distributor is the TP in Auckland. What shall I do about it? I said, well, somehow or other, you're going to have to come up with some mystical potency and get him out of there and take him back to America. So he schemed up a whole scheme and somehow or other replaced Brigupati, got him back to America. And even to this day, Brigupati is one of the biggest book distributors in the world. So are we still there?
Yes.
Yeah. So these are all the rivers of nectar, like the oceans of nectar, what it was like in his association. And because it was so profound and because it was so real, and just like Prabhupada, to us when Prabhupada left his body, it's like he entered our heart. I remember when we were at Gribblehurst Road and we heard Srila Prabhupada has left his body, but I didn't feel as though he had gone. I feel as though he had entered. And Prabhupada did say that the spiritual master is the external manifestation of the super soul. So in doing that, you feel more closer to Krishna and to Prabhupada. And the same with Tamal. I mean, he had such a profound, and then to be with Tamal on the last day, like, we did this Kirtan Mela, and through the Kirtan Mela, we weren't supposed to leave the day we were going to leave, but there was some protests or something in Calcutta, so we had to change it. And originally, me and my wife weren't going with Tamal, but when we first was going on the 15th of March, that was my wife's birthday, and she had created a really fabulous relationship with Tamal. She was a disciple of Indaduna Maharaj, but her main relationship in Shiksha was with Guru Dev, and they would ring and talk to each other all the time. So when she found out, she said, "Oh, can you ask Maharaj if we can go to the airport with him?" And I went, well, I don't want to really disturb him. He's got his own program. But I asked him, he says, yeah, sure, but we've changed it. Instead of going, now I'm going on the 15th. And I says, well, that's my wife wants to go to the airport with you. So then I remember it vividly. We came downstairs, me and my wife were in the back, not in the back seat because there was the back seat with his disciples. Then Tamal came downstairs, the devotees was there. And he went and paid his obeisances to Garuda, which I'd never seen him do before. And then we hop in the car, and then we were driving through Shantipur, and there was a shortcut, and we were talking. But prior to that, it took about like 15 minutes to make sure that the safety belt was on properly. This is the intricacies of traveling with Maharaj. He's the only one that put the safety belt on. He was getting me to check it, and he was getting Vrindavan. Is this right? Is it on proper? And then we were mainly just talking casually. He invited me and my wife to come to Govardhan, that Kartik. He says we can spend some time together and we'll get deeper into chanting Hare Krishna. And then whatever happened. We hit a tree or someone hit us or whatever. So at that particular point, I was also unconscious because my wife hit the car. Tamal, I don't know what happened with Tamal. He was buckled in the front, and then I was sitting behind the driver. So we all hit the roof. So when I hit the roof, I was also unconscious. It was just like being knocked out for a moment. And then when I woke up, the car was tumbling because it hit the tree, and then it tumbled a couple of times and it landed a long way along the road. I mean, this person was really driving fast. So when the car stopped and I became more conscious, the car was upside down. The taxi was upside down. And I thought, I'm going to have to smash the windows to get out. So I kicked the window on the thing and I got out. And Tamal was still, he had left his body instantly, but he was still upside down with the safety belt. And my wife was lying there. So we got Tamal out and got my wife out, and we put him on the side of the some grass. And by that particular time, his other disciples in the other car, they were there. So we put Tamal and my wife into the hospital. As soon as we got to the hospital, the doctor says, your guru has deceased. He left immediately, but he says, your wife's in a more dangerous situation because she's only got a percentage of, because of the brain damage, it's basically going to stop. And he was arranging for my wife to be taken to Calcutta. And I went, and then by that time, Jayapataka Maharaj had turned up, Niranjana Swami turned up, Shivaram Maharaj turned up, and I went, where are we? And then Jayapataka Maharaj says, well, this is the area where, who chanted the rounds? Rupa Goswami? Anyhow, that holy place there. And then I said, there's no way you're taking my wife out of the holy dham. And then she was lying on the floor, and near Ranjana and Shivaram, I said, she had left her body, and I asked them to chant the Shrinde prayers. So that was, and then they wanted to do a full autopsy on Tamal, because it's a big thing in India if a guru or an acharya dies, because they go, well, he could have been shot, he could have been poisoned, he could have been stabbed, we don't know. And so Jayapataka Maharaj had to get a letter from the governor or from the local, whatever it is, to make sure they didn't start chopping Tamal up and my wife. So they did a small autopsy, and then they were released, and we put them in a little van, a minivan. Now, by that time, around the hospital, all the villagers had found out. So to them, it was auspicious to come and pay the respects to the deceased guru. It's just part of their culture. So they wouldn't let us leave. We were in the minivan. They wouldn't let the van leave. They says, we're not leaving. You're not leaving until we can come on board and offer our respects. This would have taken days. By that time, villagers would have turned up. So I forget who it was. Bibi Govinda was there too. Could have been Shivaram Maharaj said, just uncover Tamal's head, which was down at the back of the van, and tell the people they can have darshan then. And it wasn't till then that they actually let the van go. So this was like an incredible situation to be part of or be placed in. Such an amazing situation. So I had some cuts and some stitches, but 3 days later they'd all disappeared. I couldn't walk for a couple of days because I did something to my ankle, but after that everything like disappeared, and people were saying, well, where's your scars and where's the thing? It just sort of like disappeared, some like mystically. So when you're part of Tamal's life, and then you're with Tamal right to the beginning, it's something you never forget. It's like it's embedded in you that you were there by providence, by the independent hand of the Supreme Lord. You happen to be at that particular time. And of course, when things like happen, you think to yourself, well, would have been better if I went. I'm useless, but Tamal. But then that's what Shivaram Maharaj says to me. Who can understand the independent hand of the Supreme Lord? So the Supreme Lord has his plan. We have our plan. And we're lucky because we're also under the independent hand of Krishna. I remember doing astrology, going to many astrologers. We went to a famous astrologer, and he says, I don't know why devotees come to astrologers for, because you're under the hand of Krishna, and it doesn't matter what we say. Krishna turns his hand and it changes. Well, like Prabhupada says, we go in front of the deities and we clap 3 times and all the lines on our hands change. So amazing. Krishna is amazing. The ISKCON movement is amazing. The Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is amazing. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj is super amazing. So I'm going to finish there because today's Staniyatra and it starts in 10 minutes. And I'd just like to thank you for listening. And all glories to all the Tamal Krishna Maharaj disciples. Stay strong, stay dedicated, do something great for your Guru. And this is the most pleasing thing. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Kalasamvara Prabhu. You're an amazing devotee. And I hope when you go on that September trip to Fiji, you'll convince some of the leaders there to do this program of establishing the Dham in Fiji also. At the mountains are called the Kovandra Mountains. And so near Kovandra, and there's a particular devotee whose name is Parshurama Prabhu. And he's the head of the Fiji Electricity Authority there. Very senior disciple. And so you know him personally. So he actually, when they first started the electricity system in Fiji, they built very large dams in a place called Monasavu. That's right next to where you're talking. So he'd be a very good person to talk to so they can talk to the government and talk to various people. He's got a lot of authority with the government there right now, a highly revered devotee. So, you know, that way we will all remember you by that place. That because of you, that place became so famous. We were all there. Nobody has made it as famous as you making it by what you just said today. It's just totally amazing. Thank you for being such an amazing devotee. All of us who have met you all know what a great soul you are, and we're so honored to have had your association and hope to continue your association for many, many years to come. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So,
Radhe Radhe.
So you need to check out.
I can go.
Okay. I mean, we'd let you if you want. If you have to go to the program, please. We won't stop you.
Yeah. Well. That's another amazing thing now. Like in our culture, how we're doing Staniyatra now. It's the middle of winter. It's the worst time to do it. But we're doing it to appease the Brahmanas in Puri. You know, because they've been so anti-ISKCON that we do everything differently. And as you might know now, we have a wheel from Jagannath's cart. We have his columns from Jagannath's cart. We have the backdrop, the wooden carved backdrop, all from Jagannath's cart. And we're creating a whole Jagannath showpiece here. So we're doing it just to keep peace with the Brahmanas, but it's such an ecstatic festival, like everything else. And actually everything in Krishna consciousness is ecstatic. The good times and the bad times, Bhaktivinoda Thakur would say, whether in happiness and distress, never forget chanting Hare Krishna. Yes. So in happiness and distress, never forget your beloved Guru Dev, Tamal Krishna Goswami.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Wonderful. So very nice. Thank you so very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Would you like to tell us about the next program also?
Yeah. Next week we will have another program the same time, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe also then let them know that when the program will be over so people can ask questions. I'm sure a lot of people might have wanted to ask something or say something so that we would have that opportunity. But so next week it's on Saturday again?
Yeah.
Same time next Saturday.
Same time, yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody who attended. Really so very happy that you all came. Vanchakalpa Turubhischa Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Krishna Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami. Jai. Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhus.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Shebya Prabhu and Ajeshwari Prabhus, you're satisfied? Things went well?
Yes, Prabhu.
Amazing pastimes, isn't it? So beautiful. Wow.
Actually, he knew that there'll be a Q&A section, but I think because he was rushing for the program.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next week we already told them that they will stay on. So hopefully.
Yes. So people can ask questions and say something.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much.
I will.
Hare Krishna.